Welcome to Built for This, the podcast where purpose meets performance. Hosted by business strategist and human behavior specialist Carly Pepin, this show dives into the real stories behind high-growth businesses. Let's bring life to your vision. Hey guys, so welcome back to the show today, and I'm really looking forward to today. So we have Dave Gulas, and Dave attended the University of Michigan Dearborn prior to his 20 plus years of sales executive career within the medical and pharmaceutical industries. He since co-founded EZDC 3PL, a third-party logistics firm, and he hosts the Beyond Fulfillment podcast, a weekly YouTube interview focused on entrepreneurial journeys. EZDC 3PL launched in 2022 and is headquartered in Kentucky. They provide warehousing, fulfillment, and transportation services to manufacturers and e-commerce companies reliably and affordably. Known for personal service, fast response, time, and flexibility, EZDC 3PL takes the headache out of fulfillment and helps customers grow as true extensions of their business. So welcome, Dave.
Hey, thank you so much, Carly, for the intro. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I appreciate you being here. So tell us a little bit more about why you got into logistics. Coming from the pharmaceuticals background, it seems like it would be a bit different. What got you into doing the logistics side?
Yeah, it's quite a bit different. So we were, prior to starting the company, we were looking for another industry, another vertical to get into. And within pharmaceuticals, there is a lot of logistics to where, at least in our niche of the market, you're always buying and selling product and stuff's coming and going. We're tracking it, and then we got to, get the order prepped up to go here and there. So from that experience, the distributor side of the business, we thought we knew logistics. And we knew several e-commerce companies that were having major problems with their 3PL to where they're getting poor service, orders weren't shipping on time. It's just a very bad experience. And coming from pharmaceuticals, our niche of the market, to even survive, you have to have a very high touch customer service approach. So we're used to solving problems on the fly, responding quick, making sure everything happens as it needs to get the orders were delivered. So we said, you know what? We'd be a great fit for this industry. And, we had space available. So we said, let's just jump in and do it. And we did. And once we started the company, we realized how much we didn't know about logistics. And then it was a whole lot more we had to learn on the fly.
Awesome. And just for people who don't know, because I'm sure a lot of people don't understand the lingo, what is 3PL?
Yeah, so it stands for third party logistics. And that's basically if you're like for in our case, e-commerce brands are who we serve. So if you're selling a product online and you don't want to buy or rent your own warehouse and manage staff and worry about the expensive software and negotiate with carriers and do everything else that it takes to run a logistics operation that's scale for a company that's scaling, you can outsource that to a 3PL in a company like us. And it's a very big industry. It's probably 10,000 plus within the US alone. And lots of people do it, big and small. And yeah, that's what it is.
Amazing. And I'm curious too, because even that dynamic with the learning curve with logistics, I haven't had to do a lot of logistics, but it's very difficult the times that I have had to do it. And there's a lot that goes into it. So how did you guys manage the learning curve while still being able to serve your customers?
Well, I mean, we just jumped in and did it. I mean, I've always been the type to get started fast and take action, and I believe you really learn best by doing. So, and again, we being that this new industry, we looked for an industry expert consultant to work with us as we were starting the company, and we've since worked with several consultants. It took us a minute to really find the right one. So we just started and we did that, and then we worked with him initially to find out exactly what we need to open the company, what software, what other steps we needed to take. We opened. I got some beginner's luck. Like the very first lead I got, I closed pretty quick, and we had our first customer before we knew it. And we just kept going from there. And as the company started to grow, we realized all the different challenges and things that come up, and we just
Mm.
continued to work through the process from there.
I love that. I love that. Well, that's a really smart idea. It's like bringing the expert that's within the field. So as you guys tackle these problems, it's not like you're completely starting from scratch. You have someone who can give you feedback, but then also you guys get to troubleshoot and figure it out simultaneously.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's beautiful. And you guys did this during COVID, if I remember correctly, right?
Well, so 2022 is when we started. So it was kind of like the tail end of COVID. And I think that really had a lot to do with creating the dynamic that we saw. Because if you remember during COVID, right, there was all this, all the retail stores and everything shut down, and there was this huge spike in e-commerce. And really the supply and the demand within that industry got real imbalanced, where there was a lot more demand than there was supply. And I think that had a lot to do with the complacency that we saw from so many of these providers, where they were just used to having all the business that they could handle. And in turn,
Mm.
there wasn't, I mean, at least from what we saw from the people that we knew, it seemed like, that had a lot to do with creating it to where they just didn't feel that they needed to operate with an urgency around customer service.
Okay, that's really interesting because even the dynamic that you're talking about, like the complacency, right? So you're seeing these other companies who are having this complacency, and it sounds like that gave you a really great opportunity to kind of dive in and connect with some other customers that maybe were not happy. How would you say you guys are tackling that as a company now so that you don't get stuck in kind of that complacency trap?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's really been our guiding principle. It's stuff I talk about all the time on all the content I put out and all the podcasts I'm on. And
Hmm.
so we're still small enough to where we have a tight-knit team, and we literally have a team huddle every day where we talk about the priorities. And
Hmm.
we've since expanded to have several other experts on the team. But whenever we bring someone on, we talk about what we need to do, what they're expecting, what the situation
Hmm.
is. So it's and again, that's the whole reason too that so many of these companies are signing on with us, because I have conversations all the time, sales conversations. And usually the two buckets of companies we serve are either number one, companies that are doing
Hmm.
self-fulfillment and they're graduating to finally needing to outsource that to the 3PL, or it's a company that's already with 3PL and they're not happy with the service. And the latter is the vast majority of the conversations that I have. So
Hmm.
now too, before we bring anyone on, I'm having a discussion about it with my management team, and sometimes too they're even involved on the initial sales calls to really get an understanding, so we know exactly what they're not happy with, why they're coming over, why they're
Hmm.
choosing us. We talk about what we're going to offer them that's different. We get all their questions answered beforehand, and then again we're talking every day to make sure that we're executing. And they know too, right? Like,
Hmm.
if there's a problem, I'm in, I'll be aware, people will let me know and I'll get involved. And so they're just used to, that's the way we operate, to where if there's any issue with the customer, we want to get it on quick and make sure they don't have any headache, and that their orders are running smoothly, and that we're a true extension of the brand.
Beautiful. And I love the daily huddles. Like I love that you guys are implementing that. And it's funny that you say like, we're so small, we're doing the daily huddles. Most small companies think that they don't have time for daily huddles, right? And a lot of larger companies also think they don't have time for them. I would love for you to share the impact that that makes and the strategy of why you guys even did that. Because to me, I find it a very powerful thing for all companies to basically make a habit.
Yeah, I mean, it was something recommended by the current consultant that we're with now, and he's been in the industry a long time. He owned his own company for many years, his own 3PL before he sold it. And that was something he strongly recommended, because he kind of scaled it from scratch to very large before the exit. And he was just talking about all the different things that go on, and before you know it, there's all these moving parts, there's all these different customers, there's all these different priorities. And he said you want to stay close, particularly for me, right, where I'm more on the sales side. I'm not in there filling orders every day, just to stay close to everything that's going on, to understand the issues. And just also too, as we bring new team members on, and maybe they don't know me that well as the other ones that have been here a while, just to stay close and to have that open dialogue and to be able to connect with them on a daily basis, I think is powerful. And yeah, I don't see it's ever stopping
I
doing that.
love that. Yeah, no, I love that he suggested that. It's really wise. It's very cool that you guys got into it so early on. And so let's even look at this dynamic of creating this company, right? I imagine, as you're saying, like this was your entrepreneurial journey, your first one. So, what are some of the big mistakes that you made as you were beginning this journey that now you see kind of as this necessary lesson that got you to where you are today?
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I mean, the first one too is I didn't realize coming from pharmaceuticals, right? And where we were, it was kind of traditional B2B sales to where you can get lists of who the customers are. There's a lot of calling, you're selling commodities, you get to know who all the players are, you know who the competitors are, all this, where logistics is so much more like wide open, right? And it really hit me like a ton of bricks to when I went to the first industry trade show and I saw just a handful of the other competitors, how big they were, how well known they were, the type of marketing they had.
Mm,
And I quickly realized that if I wasn't visible and out there as a founder, the company would never grow the way we needed it to. So
mm,
where I wasn't used to posting content on social media, I never was that guy. I realized that that was necessary. And so I just like anything else, I didn't know how to do it, so I started learning how to do it, and I jumped in and started doing it. And as time went along, I became a lot more comfortable. That eventually led into the podcast, which we'll get into. So that was one within the marketing, and then another big one too would just be defining really what our niche is and really drilling down on the type of customers that we serve. Because as a new company, of course, we wanted to grow, we wanted to scale, we wanted the revenue. So I was saying yes to a lot of deals I probably shouldn't have early on. And I
mhm.
was just signing on a customer and telling my team, okay, this is what we need to do. And several of those didn't turn out the way we wanted, and we had to basically end those relationships. So just really being clear about what's the right fit for us and making sure and taking a lot more time on the front end to make sure it's the right fit before just bringing people in.
Awesome. That's really cool. And I'm curious now, like when you guys are going through customer acquisition, I imagine that that's also included in the podcasting, the marketing. But when you're talking to customers, is that now part of the sales process where you guys are making sure that these very specific dynamics are being met so that you guys are serving the correct people?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have a lot more questions that I ask on the front end. And then now too, I mean, we have some very experienced experts on our team in some key management positions, and just out of respect and just out of learning from mistakes in the past, I don't ever bring on anyone without talking to them and making sure, okay, this is what it is. What about this? What about that? What do you think? What questions do you have? And we really talk through it as a team because, again, right, they're operational experts. I'm more of a sales and marketing guy at heart. And so I just want to make sure that we're all aligned and we know exactly what we're getting into before we commit because it is, you know, it's not like a quick it's if people move into your warehouse, they're basically you're forming a partnership and you are becoming an extension of the brand. So it makes sense to take a lot
Mhm.
more time and ensure it's right instead of saying yes too quickly and moving too quickly on that.
Yeah, amazing. I love that you kind of have it all integrated with the team as well. And tell us about your team too, because I know you said you had a lean team. How many people do you guys have in your company?
I mean, we got like 10 right
Mhm.
now. So, I mean, we're not super big, but at the same time, right, key positions are we're very solid. And it's just a more of like a family type vibe where everyone enjoys what they do. We have the responsibilities defined clearly. If there's a problem, we can all collaborate and solve it depending on what it is and who needs to be involved.
Mhm.
And I like that to where people are just engaged, involved. They like what they're doing, and they know that they can talk to me if they have any sort of issue. And so I like the small, tight knit type of environment.
Yeah, that's very cool. Even the dynamic of just making sure everyone's their job duties, like their responsibilities, is very clearly defined. Is that something that you guys had set up right away? Is that something that you implemented? I'm curious what that looks like as a system that you're able to maintain to ensure everyone's not only in the right seat, but they're having this enjoyment in the business.
Yeah, no, that's something we
Mhm.
we figured out as we went. I mean, Like again, I think another mistake we made in the beginning was trying to do too much with too little, just trying to, bootstrap a little bit too much to where maybe we were relying on people for too much, and then we didn't have everything built out as clearly. So again, right, you do that, you make mistakes, you learn from it, you correct it. But now, yeah, we want to have clearly define what the roles are. We want to have SOPs for everything. We want to, yeah, just have, like you said, process and
Mhm.
systems for anything, any department and anyone new that we bring on.
Very cool. And even the SOPs, like what would you say are the SOPs that have been game changers in your company? I love SOPs, by the way. I think it's like delegating to it's delegating to a procedure. But I would love for you to share that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just more with the processes within the warehouse, right? And that's more what like my operational team will do. But just so it's like you when you bring people in, and especially as you're adding more people during heavy times too, you just want them to, and especially if you really scale with some heavier volume, which we'll see during, like we do see during peak, like you just want them to know exactly what they need to do and have the system clearly defined. You don't want them having to like make decisions on the fly. You want to have everything kind of process oriented, like particularly within a warehouse where you're seeing high volume, right? So it's just really within specifically when stuff's coming in, when stuff's going out. With all the cycle counts and with everything within the warehouse operations, just so we have that drilled down clearly, so
Mhm.
everyone knows exactly what they should be doing.
That's interesting. I never thought about this, but like when you guys are doing the 3PL dynamic, so you said that there are times when there's higher volume, and so you bring people on. Is that something where you're just bringing people on part-time, just momentarily because there's higher volume at that time? So do you also have, outside of the 10 normal standard employees at the company, people coming in and out during high volume times?
Yeah, I mean, you rely on temps. Temps at times is big within the 3PL industry. I mean, ideally, we like to hire within, so it just depends, right? And then again, if you have maybe containers coming in and you have a busy day, right, you'll plan for that and you bring on some additional labor. So we really try to keep everyone fully, have a full staff and have like our lean team. But yeah, at times certainly we use like temps to, for additional support when we need it.
Hey everyone, it's Carly. If you're really resonating with what we're talking about and want to get clear on what truly drives you, what your core values are, head on over to my website. In the tools and tips section, there is a free values assessment. And this is a quick exercise that's going to help you to uncover what actually matters most with you so you can lead and live with more clarity, fulfillment, and momentum. That's interesting. I'm curious too, like when you guys use temps, I don't know if this is something that matters within this dynamic, but are you still hiring temps based off of like a culture dynamic, off of looking at like not only do they fit the job, do they fit the culture, or does that not matter as much in this industry?
Um, at the broader industry at large, I
Mhm.
mean, it's so big, it's hard for me to say specifically, right? I think the biggest thing is we want anyone to fit well within our culture, but sometimes you just need bodies to get the work done, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, and again, during peak, you're thinking about today, did we get everything that needs to be done today so everything runs smoothly? But yeah, in general, we want anyone that we bring in to fit within our culture. And, if they don't, then obviously you need to, make the appropriate decision there. But luckily we've done pretty well overall, with all that.
Yeah, okay, very cool. And I was wondering about that because I imagine I know we all want everyone to fit in the culture, but if you're kind of in like these time crunches and it's only a temporary employee, I'm like, how realistic is it to always get someone, right? So it sounds like there's just a little bit of give and take there.
Yeah, yeah, of
Mhm.
course, right? And for the most part too, right? People, we've had good luck with that, and people want to work, and we want them to, we want the work to get done. So it just really depends. But at large, yeah, anyone we bring on as a permanent employee, we want them to be a good fit with the culture. And yeah, so it's like you said, you just do the best you can.
Yeah, and tell us about like the scale of the project right now, because I can't remember if you're opening a second warehouse or you already have the second warehouse.
Yeah, we opened a second one back in September. So, we're in January right now. So yeah, we just opened the second one, and yeah, we're looking. So now as we record this in January, mid-January, yeah, we got done with peak. So traditionally it's a little bit of a slower time order volume wise within the industry, but then it's a very heavy time sales wise where Q1, Q2, anyone that's looking to make a move, they'll typically do it during those slower times. So we're having a lot more sales conversations and really, looking more at the marketing side and everything, and then obviously always taking care of our customers in house.
Amazing. And even opening that second warehouse, when you think about scaling in this way, growing in this way, what had to be in place to ensure that the second warehouse is going to run as efficiently as the first one?
Yeah, I mean, just personnel, of course, is key. So you want to have the right people there, and just making sure the layout, the design is right, and it's kind of like, at least sometimes you don't realize it's great to have a second facility, but it's kind of like just like when you buy a house, right? You don't realize all the additional costs you're going to need right off the bat with that. So, there's a whole lot too where it's great to have two facilities, but there's a lot of extra expenses you got to keep in check, and that
Mhm.
clearly you want to make sure that you're utilizing the space properly. So, been dealing with all that over the last few months, but yeah, all is well, and we're just looking forward to being able to serve more customers and bringing on bigger brands that are aligned with what we offer.
Yeah, and I'm curious too, when you guys opened that warehouse, did you bring someone from the current team to manage that section, or did you guys bring on someone new?
Yeah, so we took an established manager from our current team to basically run there, and then we hired someone else to be at the first one.
Okay,
So yeah, so that's
that's
how it
cool.
worked out. And yeah, so we worked with a recruiter, found someone with great experience. It was the right fit, and yeah, it all worked out.
That's cool. And are you guys planning, like, with expansion, what does that look like in the future when you're having more warehouses? Are you gonna shift the business dynamic at all, or is it gonna kinda stay the same? What does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, for the foreseeable future, we want to really just expand our footprint within Kentucky, right?
Okay.
So it's a great central location. You can reach 80% plus of the country within 2 days ground, which is very important for a lot of brands. There's a lot of
Mhm.
positives to being within Kentucky, right? Other bigger companies have the multi-node approach where they can do East Coast, West Coast, or multiple facilities. And maybe one day we'll do that. But I mean, certainly for the foreseeable future, there's a lot of opportunity to just expand within Kentucky. So that's really what we're focused on for right now.
Amazing. I hadn't even thought about that, like Kentucky and kind of its central location just to make shipping easier for everyone.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a great location, and that's the name of the game is efficiency and speed and low costs. So yeah, that's what we're focused on for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, that's very cool. And when you guys are hiring, like, are you hiring on your own? Are you working with recruiters? Like, what does that look like to get the right people in these right seats?
Yeah, it just depends on the position. Typically for the warehouse positions, we'll hire on our own. Typically, if we need like a higher level management position, I mean, you can do that on their own. We've just had very good luck with the recruiter that we use, and we've been able to fill a couple key positions very quickly, and it's worked out very well. So I mean, that's how we've done it for right now. I mean, I guess it just depends
Mhm.
on the situation, but typically for like a management position, we'll work with a recruiter.
Amazing. It makes sense. It definitely makes sense. I know they have some great contacts. Yeah. And let's look at this as well too, because even that dynamic of the accountability with individuals, like what do you guys look at when you're tracking accountability? How are you making sure that the leadership team, the employees are actually basically living up to the standards that they're meant to in these positions?
Yeah, I mean, we have a great software system that does all that, and then we certainly, if there is a mistake, we'll review exactly what happened, why it
Hmm.
happened, how it happened, and how we can make sure it doesn't happen again. I mean, that's typically the process. And the management team is very good on all that, and they already know right? Like from the culture, kind of what I expect and what we promise to our customers. So if anything like that does happen, before I even may find out about it, they're on it to do all that.
Mhm.
But maybe even before I'm made aware. But yeah, that's typically the process, and we've been able to. And again, right, it's just like anything else, as you implement it and as you're growing and scaling, it's a learning curve. But I mean, at this point right now, we've done a great job of really honing in on all that.
Yeah, that's cool. And even the dynamic of just having the culture within the company. Let's hear a little bit more about the culture. So, what is the culture like at your company?
Yeah, well, so again, right, we're a very customer centric type of environment. I know that phrase may be cliche, but we want to run smoothly as an extension of our customers' brands. So like in the huddles, we talk about the priorities. We look at exactly what's going on today, how many orders are currently on deck for each customer, what needs to be done, what's coming in that day, what,
Mhm.
in terms of receiving and then replenishment thereafter. So it's just really we're always thinking, okay, what are the priorities? What do we need to get done? And if
Mhm.
there's any issues, they know we want to talk about them, bring them up. And then sometimes too, it may be like a consultative, okay, this happened, right? What do we, what are the options? How can we solve this? Depending on who needs to be involved or who's responsible for what. Because the other thing too, like we deal with, we have customers, all around the world, really. So I mean, there's emails, right, coming in round the clock, right? So by the
Mhm.
time we have our morning huddle, I've looked at all the emails. We have a support inbox too, which I'll look at that to kind of see what's going on. So we'll have a good sense of kind of what the issues are for the day. And so if there's problems that need to be solved, which there typically are, and there's whatever needs to happen, so we'll just have a very open conversation. And it's just really about getting stuff done to serve I mean, the priority is the customer, right? Because if you don't have customers, you don't have a business, right?
Mhm.
And obviously, we want to grow and scale, and we want them to be successful because the better they do, the better we do. And so, I mean, it's just really a team approach to yeah, accomplishing whatever the priorities are for the day and serving our customer. And again, right, it's not like if there is a problem, I'm very calm about what needs to happen. How do we solve it? And if anything needs to be escalated, it can be. But like it's just a very, I guess I don't know, like a friendly team environment where everyone
Mhm.
knows what's expected of them. And like the team we have for now everyone is very accountable, and we work very well together. So I guess we're
Yeah.
in that aspect we're very blessed.
Yeah, that's amazing. In even like priorities, I'd love to like you to share more about that because your priority is your customer. How do you guys pick and choose which priorities to focus on? Because I know when we look at a business, we can kind of go down the rabbit hole and potentially set too many priorities, which are overwhelming and nothing's going to get done. So, how do you guys pick and choose which are the top priorities that you're going to be focusing on, whether it be the day, the quarter, the year?
Yeah, I mean, well, again, right? Everyone on our team, we know who the higher volume customers are, and I mean, clearly, right? Any business is going to want to make sure all their larger customers are taken care of, but even the smaller ones too, right? Or particularly with they're new, maybe it's a lot less to deal with them, but at the same time, they're handled also. But we another part of that too is we just like we want to be a good partner, we expect our customers to be good partners.
Mhm.
So I mean we'll talk about that too, where if someone's maybe not doing what they need to do or they're complaining but yet they haven't like if the issue maybe is on their part and they're saying you didn't do this, you didn't do that, but if we look at the facts and maybe the errors or the holdup or the mistakes on their end, I mean, we'll talk about that, we'll understand that, we'll address that with the customer, but we just want to, yeah, make sure everything runs smoothly. And if something needs to be addressed, it is. And if we need a customer to do something, they're made aware of that. And
Mhm.
obviously, I mean, top priority is making sure every order ships on time as expected with no
Mhm.
errors, clearly each day. So, I mean, that's automatic. And then, just depending if you have to prioritize and you have to set an order and maybe something doesn't get done, I mean, just, during peak or whatever busy time it may be, then I guess you just have to you prioritize based on what's the most pressing need, based on how we define it within.
Yeah, awesome. That's very cool. Thank you for diving into the details of this. I just love listening to, we listen to all the theories and stuff when we talk about the theories, but I really appreciate you giving like the demonstration of what the practical application looks like outside of just the theory. Like we're getting to see what it looks like live in essence.
Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
right. You always want to have systems in place, but like anyone knows, sometimes stuff just happens. Things come up out of nowhere. And look, even though we use large national carriers, right? They make mistakes. Humans make mistakes. All kinds of crazy stuff happens. So we have to we'll get stuff from manufacturers and it's labeled wrong. And that you got to deal with that, right? And that's so anyone in logistics will tell you mistakes happen and challenges happen and curveballs come at you, all the time. But it's the team, the people that really have to implement. And obviously we have systems to do all that, but at the same time, there's a lot of there's a lot the people actually need to execute and yeah, you got to stay close to what's going on.
Yeah. And I know we also touched a little bit about some of the like in our previous call, the generational differences that you're noticing in the workforce. So share a little bit about what you're starting to notice in the workforce just based on generational differences.
Yeah, so I think I was mentioning too because I interviewed someone on my podcast. The episode didn't even come out yet, but they were just they were talking about there's all these um, different generations working together. And so what is their I think I'm Gen X. There's millennials, there's
Mhm.
Gen Z, there's what I don't know, I might be
I'm not
using.
certain. I'm not even certain what I am. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So, but right, she
Mhm.
was saying that it's there's based on the way they grew up and the parenting style was,
Yeah.
has a huge impact on how they operate within the workplace. And I had never heard someone explain it to me the way she was in terms of, well, so back then it was just you come in during the street lights and you could just kind of hang out and do whatever. And then this generation had to deal with stranger danger and that. So then so she was just explaining and she was very well versed in all that.
Mhm.
And I was just like, wow, that's interesting. But I mean, we have a multitude of generations even on our team too, and it is interesting how people operate, but I always just like to, again, value everyone's opinion. You obviously respect what they do. Everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing, and if something needs to be done,
Mhm.
that's the expectation, and that's what they're held to. But I mean, I guess we've been able to function very well working together, even with some wide generational gaps. And I mean, we've done team building activities where we all go out multiple times just to get to know each other besides just, work, right? And, I want to
Yeah.
understand kind of, yeah, and I typically, particularly if it's like a higher level position and someone I interact with a lot, I'll spend time talking to them kind of other than just work to just understand who they are, what family situation is, how they operate, what they have going on, just to get to know them on a deeper level. Because again, right, I guess I would say in this day and age, it's no longer just I don't know what the word is. Like I don't believe it's going to work well by just telling people just "You do your job. This is what we say, and that's it." And like life happens. There's all types of issues going on today. You want to understand what people are dealing with. And, maybe there is some give and take depending on the situation. But as long as, right, you're sensitive to what they have going on and you respect
Mhm.
their priorities and their life outside of work, I've found, at least in our company history, that people will really go the extra mile, do what they need to do, and work very
Mhm.
hard for you when they understand that you respect them and you value them and that you're sensitive to whatever their situations are. It's just a good, I guess, mutually beneficial dynamic when you get to know people other than just this is your job, go do your job type of thing.
Yeah, I love this. This is beautiful. It answers the question that a lot of people have is how do we get over the generational differences in the workforce? And as you're very clearly sharing, it's like, well, it's the culture. Like it doesn't matter what generation they are, our culture is coming together because it's what you've created. Um, I love what you're sharing. It's like understanding people beyond their job and what's important to them and valuable to them. Because, yeah, if you give people what they want, they're going to help you get what you want. That's top priority. It sounds like you're also doing some really cool, like interesting connections, events to be able to have people get to know each other. What else do you guys implement to basically build a culture in this way that you guys are connected? I'd love to hear more of the ideas and more of the things that you're doing on the back end.
Yeah, I mean that's
Mm.
just it, right? Like again, we're not a huge team, but we'll get to know each other beyond that, and I want to understand exactly what's going on. And sometimes too, right? Maybe the warehouse manager is a lot closer to the warehouse team, but I'll kind of get the gist of everything that's going on. And sometimes too, right? Maybe they're not so like open with the president of the company type of thing, right? And talk, but I always try to go out of my way to get to know people and to talk to them and to let them know I value them. And yeah, I, I think too, right? And I've noticed this since I've been doing my podcast too. Like I've interviewed a couple hundred plus people and all different ages and generations and whatnot. And okay, so I'm in my mid 40s, right? But even I remember I interviewed a kid that was 21 and I was so impressed by him as an entrepreneur and the stuff he was telling me and what he was doing in his business. And I was like, wow, like you've got a bright future. And I'm really learning stuff from him and how he operates and what he's doing. And he's less than half my age. So it's not just, then again, right? I'm interviewing people in their 70s that are starting another business and have had a long career and they're like having more fun than ever, right? So there's a wide spectrum of age, experience, but I mean, regardless, I guess the point is you can learn something from everybody.
Yeah.
And just having that respect, regardless of the generation or the age, and just really seeing the value people bring for who they are, I think is important.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I think this kind of like loops back into the first part of our conversation where you were mentioning you went to the trade show and you saw that all these people had visibility and reach, right? So what made you decide to start the podcast as one of your options within the company to gain more visibility and reach? There's so many ways to do it, but the podcast is the way that you selected.
Yeah, so it was just interesting. So I was networking a lot. I was going to a lot of trade shows, and I was always having these conversations with other entrepreneurs. And I just found I learned so much just from rather than like reading on something or looking up whatever. I just found I learned a lot from talking to other people and asking them questions. Well, how'd you do this? What about this? Well, why this? Why that? Oh, wow, that's interesting. Tell me more. Right. I was having all these kind of conversations. And then one day it just hit me. It's like, wow, if you started a podcast, you could interview people, the audience could benefit, the guests could get exposure, would help you. It just kind of the idea popped in my head. And I said, wow, I think I'm really onto something. And granted, at that time, no experience in podcasting. I didn't know the first thing about recording or any of that kind of stuff. But I talked with my marketing team. They said, "Yeah, I think that's a great idea. We can help you. You just got to do this and that." I was like, "Cool, let's do it." And from the day the idea popped in my head to publishing our first episode was like less than 30 days, right?
Mm.
Which I think is really quick, really, when
It
you
is
look
fast.
into what goes
Mhm.
into actually producing a podcast. So
Yeah.
that's really how it happened. I just got started and then never stopped. And yeah, then now it's really grown into something that's helped us a lot.
Hey everyone, it's Carly. So, if this conversation is really hitting home and you want to get a real snapshot of what's working and what's not in your business, head on over to my website in the tools and tips section and you can have the business performance health check. In just about 15 minutes, you're going to see where the friction is and where your next growth opportunity lies within your company. That's very cool. And what surprised you about the podcast once it started to grow? What surprised you about what came from it, the benefits?
So a lot of things too. So in the beginning too, like as we're starting, it's like, wow, how am I going to get guests? How am I going to let people know? So we put out an announcement right on LinkedIn, like in the beginning, hey, I'm going to start a podcast. Would anyone like to be on it? Would anyone like, would like to listen or whatever? And I got such a positive feedback immediately. I had people offering to be guests and people, congratulating and encouraging me. And wow, that's awesome. And so I got some initial momentum. And then as I went along, I just realized too, like we all network, we know each other, we're trying to grow our business, we're talking about things, but like when you record a podcast with someone, it forms a deeper bond. People want to be heard, they get to share their
Mhm.
story, they get to really explain their thought process, and that really, I found it, deepens the connection. They really appreciate you giving them a platform to do that. So all these, great relationships were formed thereafter. And even though it's obviously meant to be a marketing tool to grow the business, like the top priority was like a real conversation for the audience, and just focusing on that just naturally turned into business to where people would just they saw it online, they would seek me out, hey, I saw you on YouTube, I actually need a 3PL, let's talk. Or got some phenomenal referrals from other people that had been on it, and it just turned into like providing value first just worked
Mhm.
out in the ways that benefited us uh, indirectly, I guess is the
Yeah.
right way to say it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I do agree with you. It's like provide the value and then people genuinely do come, like they want to connect with you. So I love that you guys are doing that. Also, let's explain the name of your podcast too, because it's called Beyond Fulfillment, and it's a question that I asked before because I was like, explain fulfillment. And I love your logo that you have. If you're watching it on YouTube, you see it. If you don't, it's a shipping container box and it looks like it's flying past the logo.
Yeah, so we needed a name. Like we were putting this all together. It's like, what are we going to name it? And we had several options, and someone on my marketing team suggested that. I was like, I love it. And really, so I'm in the fulfillment industry, 3PL fulfillment, and this is just beyond just the industry because I'm interviewing a wide variety of entrepreneurs about, and that's what the show is for everyone. It's about the entrepreneurial journey and really the what it's really like, not the Instagram highlight reel, but like the real ups and downs, the challenges, the sleepless nights, the massive problems, the pivots you had to make. It's entrepreneurs basically going through their journey and how they built a successful company. So that's what it is, and it's just beyond the fulfillment industry that I'm in. That's what the name is.
That's awesome. And I'm curious too, just based off of what you've been learning from all these interviews, the podcasts, even yourself, what would you say are some of the top things that you see entrepreneurs and even business owners? Because I think sometimes entrepreneurs think like once you get to a certain point in business, you aren't underestimating what it takes to have a business, scale a business, grow a business. But some of the individuals who have large scale businesses already are also still underestimating it. What have you seen as some of the commonalities that these individuals are underestimating the most?
Yeah, well, so many. I mean, first of all, even people that are extremely successful, like from a financial level, or they've had a big business exit, or they've really scaled a company to significant numbers. Even the most successful people you see, there's always a story. There's always like something crazy that happened. Like it's never, it's always so much harder, I guess, than it maybe looks, right? I think that's part of the reason too, is like entrepreneurship has been glamorized, right,
Yep.
for so long with like the Instagram stuff and the money and the cars and all that. And that's all great, cool, but like let's like there needs to be a greater why to really help you sustain because there's so many challenges, things that come at you. And I mean, there's so many stories too that have, but like people that went through, I mean, I had a guy that had an arbitrage business in Mexico and they devalued their currency in the late
Mhm.
90s. And he literally went to thriving with a huge business and vacation homes and all this stuff. He was literally bankrupt overnight when the
It's
currency devalued.
wild.
And then
Yeah.
he had to claw his way back for years, really from nothing. Right. And
Mhm.
he actually built back a much bigger company. And he's just talking about what it's like to go. And his attitude was like, look, what can you do? That's what happened. I gotta keep
Yeah.
going. That's all you can, so and just hearing someone that's gone through that and so much wiser and just appreciative on the other end, um, I had another guy too, right, where he had built a nine-figure business, and his partner literally was a crook and embezzled tens of millions of dollars and did pay taxes and left him on the hook. And he was in, federal litigation and
Yeah.
cash flow issues, and it led to him again building a whole separate company, and now he's again doing very well. But when you listen to what he went through, so it's just crazy stories like that, and hearing people that have overcome those challenges, and like, it's not comfortable to go through that at the time, but like the process, right? And what it
Mhm.
does for you and helps you grow. I mean, that's ultimately like the what it's all about is where, you're meant to grow through this life and grow through what you go through. So just hearing those are just a couple stories, but those type of stories are really what inspires the audience, and I think is valuable to put out.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I think it's just a great reminder for people in general. It's like no matter what we go through, it's something that we're actually built to overcome, and it's the stories you shared, they're great examples of individuals who have built something amazing. It falls, it falters, but then they're just taking all the knowledge, all the empowerment that they had before, and they're wrapping it up in a different package, and they're creating something even greater this time. And the cool thing is like we get to create something greater because we've learned a lot of lessons from the last go around. So I imagine like this time around, things within the business are probably very different than they were before. They probably have different checks and balances, different way of doing things just because of what they went through and not because like they would have learned it any other way. And it's like, yeah, sometimes it takes us a while to see that, but it is a level of appreciation that we get to at a certain point when we have something greater than we did before because things just kind of crashed and burned for a moment. It's like the human story. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
great. That's a great way of explaining it for sure.
Yeah, I love the human stories. It's amazing. Speaking of that too, I know that you have like multiple things that you're doing. And for those of you who don't know, you have 6 kids, which is amazing. Like to me, that's amazing. I have no kids and I work a lot and I'm very like, I'm an entrepreneur. I know what it's like and I know what my business asks of me. But it's interesting because how does this look in your life? How are you balancing all the various dynamics in your life that you're actually engaged in? Because even having a podcast, people may not know, but it actually can be quite time consuming, especially I know when you first launch it, because you're right, it takes a little bit more time to get it up and growing and all that fun stuff, just a different dynamic to then when it's actually popular.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so okay, yeah, like it's I guess I'm fortunate into even though I do a lot of things work related, at least particularly at this point in my life, everything is something that I'm very passionate about and engaged in, and is kind of organically part of me. So it's like even though it takes time and effort, it like gives me more energy. Like the
Yeah.
podcast stuff, right? I'm able to outsource the editing and all that kind of stuff. So I really focus on the conversation, and I certainly am involved in the marketing and picking the titles and all that kind of stuff. And that's just something I enjoy and I love doing. And yeah, so I find a way to get it in. I have systems in place too, where it's typically early Saturday mornings. I have a whole thing of that I'm doing for the episodes ahead per week. Um, and with the kids now, they're all teen. Five of them are teenagers, so it's just a different type of thing where they're very much more self-sufficient. I mean, they all play sports, so there's games to go to. There's logistics in terms of getting who needs to go where and all that. And certainly, you rely on carpooling and relationships there with all the other parents. And then yeah, it's just different dynamic where now there's driving and there's dating and all that kind of stuff. So it's certainly easy, or I guess different. I don't know. I don't even know if I would say easier, but
Just
it's
a
just
different challenge.
it's
Yeah.
just different problems than if you had a bunch of
Yeah.
younger, kids in diapers, and certainly went through all that as well. But yeah, I think it's really cool too because you just as they grow and get older, you have some really deep conversations with them and getting to
Yeah.
know them and seeing them really I'm just proud of all of them and seeing what they do within their, really almost young adults, but seeing how much they've grown and what they're all doing and how they're different personalities. So yeah, it's just you make it all work. And if you have to, stay up later to get stuff done or sleep later or
Mhm.
whatever, right? I guess I find a way to get it all done, and as does, everyone else. But that's yeah, it's just everything integrates well. I guess
Yeah.
that answers your question.
It does. I think something that you shared really kind of nails it on the head as well. And it's kind of it's like the biggest cause of burnout is when individuals are engaged in the activities that aren't energizing them. So it's like you said, it's like all these different dynamics genuinely energize you. So you really put yourself in the right seat, which is amazing. And because of that, you have more energy to do more, to actually be more productive because you're doing things that energize you. And then when we don't, we get burnt out and we have to like back off because we need to do the other things that actually give us energy. So, yeah, I love that you naturally kind of figured that out. You know, not everyone has the opportunity to figure that out naturally. Some people like have to do a deep dive and figure out what that looks like for them. But if it energizes you, it's a core value. It's something that's meaningful, purposeful, and inspiring and fulfilling. You know, it's an
Oh
amazing
yeah.
opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring that up too, because I literally just had a podcast episode come out a few days ago from someone, and she's very much challenging the social construct
Mhm.
of retirement. And so she
Oh,
basically
yeah.
worked very hard. She retired at 50, and she did the traditional what you're supposed to do when you're retired, and she was completely miserable. So then she went and started a business, and then she wrote a book, and now she's on a book tour. And she's like, look, you don't have to just get old, stop working, and wait to die. She's like, there's so much
Yeah.
experience you have and so much more you can offer in this next chapter of your life. She's like, don't you want to be interesting? Don't you want to be doing things? Don't you want to be active? And she's just so inspirational. And the whole point that I take from that too is like, listen, right? There's nothing wrong. Obviously, you want to be financially secure and be able to stop working if you don't want to work, of course, right? And that makes
Yeah.
sense. But at the same time, too, like work and doing things gives us meaning and helps us grow. So it's so important, I think, to whatever work you're doing to make sure that it's meaningful to you and it's something that you enjoy. Because if not, I mean, you see this whole conversation about work-life balance and people wanting to, can't wait to stop working. But I feel like so much of that is if they're misaligned where they're not doing the right type of work, because why
Yeah.
wouldn't you want to do something that you're passionate about that brings you joy and you're actually providing value and being productive, so
Yeah, why would you wanna stop?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
So
that's so cool. She nailed it on the head, by the way. I love that she's doing that. I love that she's sharing that because it is like the retirement myth, right? And it's funny because I think people forget present day. When we go and do something, we can go on a trip, we can go spoil ourselves, we go shopping, buy things we want, and it feels good for like a fraction of a second, right? Like feels good and we like it and that feels good. But it's not the same as when like you help someone, you impact people's lives. And it's like if you're a business owner, you're not just impacting lives of people from products and services, you're impacting the people that you're managing, the employees that you have. You know their families. It's like you said, you're connecting with them. You know their families, you know that maybe employing them like is giving them the opportunity to send their kids to the school they want to send their kids to. It's like all these bits and pieces. And it's like, yeah, I like all that stuff that I get as a result of providing service, but simultaneously, like, I can't imagine a life where I just like give up all that meaningful like components, all the meaningful work. Like I can't imagine it because when I don't when it's slower for me, I go a little bit crazy. My husband laughs because he's like, it's slow season. I try to fill my time during slow season with other meaningful activities where I could create something so I could be of service like in the future because I go crazy when I don't have that opportunity to feel impactful, to help, right? I think that's like an innate core of everyone in society is we all want to help people and the second you retire, if you're not doing something to actually do that, like you just get drained and burnt out. Like it's just not fun to sit there and take care of yourself all day. It really gets boring.
yeah, yeah, and like all the I can tell you from our perspective and all the entrepreneurs that I've interviewed too, like the best part too is like when
Mm.
you've something that you've created that impacts somebody else, and whether it's an employee that you're providing a an opportunity for them to make a living and help their family, or
Yeah.
even a customer where they say, "Wow, thank you so much. I'm so glad that I'm choosing to do business with you, right? Like that's those moments, those feelings are really priceless. And I think that's, I mean, aside from all the other stuff, of course we have to make money and all that, but like you can't, right? Those are the moments that really provide the deeper meaning to the work that you're doing.
Totally. It makes all those late nights and the entrepreneurial journey with all its up and downs like massively worth it. Because you remember those moments of the impact that you have and you're like, yeah, yeah, I just want to keep going. I want to keep doing it. Yeah, it's beautifully said. And I'm
For sure.
curious too, like if you were going to start again today, let's say you're going to start all over, what would you refuse to compromise on, even if it slowed down your growth?
Oh boy. I mean, it's kind of funny because if I look back at all the mistakes we made, I probably wouldn't change anything because then I might not have, learned the lesson and we wouldn't be where we are today. But I mean,
Mhm.
I mean, said no, or we said, I mean, I remember saying yes to like a company that was way bigger than we were even ready for. But then in my head, I was just like, how are we supposed to pass up on this kind of volume? I know it, but we'll
Yeah.
we'll figure it out, type of thing, right? And we did, and we certainly, even though maybe that relationship ended and it didn't ultimately didn't go the way we wanted, we learned and we grew, and it got us to the next part of our journey. So, um, yeah, I mean, I guess it was certainly wiser from all the mistakes. But I mean, I guess probably if I had to pick one thing too, it would just to be clear about the culture and what you expect from everyone. And yeah, you certainly don't ever want to compromise on that. But yeah, I guess I look at everything and I'm very pleased about where we are and where we're headed. And so I don't know that there's necessarily anything I would ultimately say, oh yeah, I would have changed that, because who knows if we would have learned a lesson there.
I love that. That's my favorite answer. Yeah, just
Oh.
gratitude for the journey. That's my absolute
Yeah.
favorite. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
No, it's actually beautiful when we can look back and see and appreciate everything that things have given us, right? And so it's like we don't want to change our lives. We see the perfection of what occurred and we feel grateful for it. It's a big change. Yeah, it's a big change inside ourselves and how we kind of show up every day. So I love that answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I really appreciate having you on today. Tell people where they can find you, your business, your podcast. Your podcast also sounds amazing. So I'm going to highly suggest people check both out.
Oh yeah, thank you so much. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Dave Gulas, Gulas. If you are an e-commerce brand and you're looking at fulfillment options and you want to learn more about our 3PL, just go to EZDC3PL.com. And then if you want to check out some really cool entrepreneurial stories and hear about all the ups and downs of what it's really like, you can look for the Beyond Fulfillment podcast, and that's on YouTube and everywhere else podcasts are heard.
Awesome. And I will make sure to put everything in the show notes for those of you who aren't able to write that down right now so you can check him out. And yeah, thank you again for coming. This has been quite inspiring. If anyone enjoyed this, they got some great insights, feel free to like it, share it with someone who you think would really benefit from the conversation as well. And again, Dave, I so appreciate having you. Thank you for this. I appreciate your transparency and sharing everything. And I think we got a lot of great insights for people on business and life, even. So I really appreciate this.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity, Carly. I really appreciate it as well.
Thank you.